Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Abbadon, a hero for Bedrotters. Abbadon is a melee universal support hero whose most iconic feature is doing absolutely nothing for the vast majority of the game. His kit is almost entirely reactive, and almost all of it is dedicated to keeping you and your very stupid teammates alive after they make some very poor decisions. His most straightforward way of doing this is with his Q, Mist Coil. This is a unit target ability that costs both mana and HP to use, and it can either heal or harm depending on who you're targeting it with. In short, it's a ranged instant heal with a very low cooldown, easy to understand and easy to use, but that won't stop your team from getting upset when you aren't using it on them specifically. For real emergencies, and to finally farm up the 100 gold you need to finish your Guardian Greaves at 35 minutes, you have Aphotic Shield. This is another unit target spell that only works on allied units, granting a medium-sized all-damage barrier and also applying a hard dispel whenever it is cast. When the shielded unit takes enough damage or when it expires, it will also pop, dealing magical damage in an AoE. The hard dispel mentioned at the beginning is the real juice of the spell, allowing you or your teammates to escape very dire situations when a normal dispel just wouldn't work, such as being hexed or stunned. You can use it to protect yourself, but oftentimes you won't, because A, your teammates will get mad at you, and B, you have your ultimate, Borrowed Time. This is a temporary state that causes all incoming damage to instead heal Abaddon, and while he can activate it manually, it will also proc itself automatically if he falls below 400 HP. This ability also comes with a strong dispel, and it's very good for diving towers and making sure that you don't get bursted at the beginning of a fight. He also has Curse of Avernus. All of these things combine to create a defensive position 5 hero who is unapologetically boring. You're going to spend a majority of the game walking around just waiting for something to happen, while secretly hoping that it never does. Then, when things finally do kick off, you'll have a brief test of situational awareness immediately followed by a deep sense of loathing. If you do your job, nobody will notice, and if you don't, everyone is going to shove pings down your throat because you didn't promptly fix their mistakes. He is an excellent hero to pick for your final game right before going to bed, which, if you are the target audience for Abaddon, will take place at around 7 AM. As for his lore, Abba is a Nepo baby whose family houses the Font of Avernus, some kind of weird LSD fountain that they keep in their basement. It drives people insane, or, in Abba's case, gives them superpowers. There is no reason for him to be here. If you're watching this video in the middle of a 4-hour marathon session lying down in your bed doing nothing, you are contractually obligated to consider joining my YouTube memberships. Joining at just the $3 tier will give you access to a backlog of bonus videos that you aren't supposed to see, and at the higher tier you'll get future ones, including one coming out tomorrow. You should see the join button if you'd like to check it out, and if you're already a patron or a YouTube member, thank you very much for your continued support. Now in Dota, the majority of heroes are balanced by the fact that they are vulnerable. Oracle, Io, Dazzle, etc. all need some kind of beef in front of them in order to keep them alive, creating the I protect you, you protect me system that is so common in multiplayer online games. However, Abba is designed in such a way that he is his own beef. Borrowed Time basically makes it all but impossible to burst an Abba who is paying the slightest amount of attention, and even the natural counterplay, such as breaking or chain stunning him, don't work, because he can manually activate his ult while stunned. He is a completely self-sufficient hero, even when that fact may be to the detriment of the person playing him. It also gives him a bit of an offlane vibe, because few sights are as beautiful as the enemy team casting all of their spells on an Abaddon. And now, with your survival guaranteed for at least 4 seconds, you now have to fulfill your job as the EMT of your team. I joke about him being boring, but in truth, if you're in the middle of a very crowded teamfight and everyone is taking some form of damage, you will have to run triage in real time on everyone on your team, and manage your cooldowns in order to respond accordingly. Mist Coil is going to be your healing bread and butter, and you should be casting it off of cooldown whenever it's available, even if the person you're healing would be totally fine without it. The main reason you're doing so is because you need to be able to constantly ping out that it is on cooldown, so when someone inevitably gets bursted and Mist Coil wouldn't have done anything anyway, you can at least justify yourself. But sometimes you're going to have to bust out the big guns, which is where Aphotic Shield comes into play. Not only is it a hard dispel, which is broken for several reasons, but it also will keep them alive for a guaranteed split second longer in order for them to use their defensive abilities. Perhaps the greatest analog to Abaddon's status as an underpaid first responder is that he has access to one of the strongest anti-wombo combo tools in the game, and no way of farming it. Aghanim Scepter turns Borrowed Time into something ridiculous, because whenever his teammates are injured when he's in his ultimate, he will automatically fire off a Mist Coil proc, and remember, he can cast it while stunned. Faceless Void, Enigma, Tidehunter, and a bunch of other heroes hate seeing an Abaddon across the enemy team, but they also smirk a little bit knowing that he's going to have to run around the entire game with half of an Aghanim Scepter and no way to finish it. And to add insult to injury, his Aghanim Shard fucking blows. Now sure, there are plenty of defensive supports in Dota, and even a handful of dedicated healers, but the thing that makes Abaddon different is that he has absolutely nothing to do when there is nothing to do. Even with the Photic Shield, it can be difficult to push lanes as Abaddon, and as far as farming the jungle goes, that may as well be a joke. If you're playing as someone like Dazzle or Witch Doctor, you can apply a high impact debuff or pop your ult to help with some kind of gank, but Abaddon has zero way of initiating or even approaching his target beyond just clicking on them and hoping it works out. The one thing that really makes him stand out compared to them is that he has a rather strangely high movement speed value. The reason for this is to facilitate what I like to call the Abaddon Doom Walk. This encapsulates the process of following a core hero around as they take mildly dangerous farm in order to keep them safe. Then, after a while of nothing happening, you walk around to yet a different core and make sure that they're safe. You have the play pattern of a weird helicopter parent, constantly identifying who is in the most dangerous position, even if everyone on the team is, at least ostensibly, completely safe. Notably, the Abaddon picker doesn't doomwalk because they're genuinely concerned about the well-being of their teammate. Instead, they do it because they have nothing else to do. Now, due to the system mechanics of Dota, there are some situations where all you can really do is shrug your shoulders and carry on. Maybe the enemy Shadow Shaman smoked with his team and blink hex your carry. In a normal game, everyone just sort of shrugs their shoulders, because sometimes that kind of death just happens. But if there is an Abaddon on the team, that blameless situation turns into something much worse. There was a theoretical reality where you could have saved him, and now a gank that would have resulted in a minor net worth drop turns into a shouting match because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The Doomwalk cycle presents itself as a natural solution to this phenomenon, because even if you're playing the most boring hero in all of Dota, you still have feelings. Now if all of this sounds appealing to you, or the only reason you ever leave your bed is to solo queue up with a bunch of strangers, here is how to play Abaddon. First, consider carefully what I said earlier about him being an almost entirely reactive hero dedicated to support and healing, and play him as a position 5. Position 4 Abaddon is a massive throw, and in the current state of the game, playing him as a core isn't really an option. If you plan on leaving an angry comment about that, wait until the wall of text. Ideally, you've picked into a situation where the enemy lane is reliant on some kind of debuff in order to harass the carry, such as a Venomancer or a Queen of Pain. In such cases, use a Photic Shield in order to dispel it, and then manage the jungle as best as you can. Remember to hold your carry safety as a higher priority than your own, not only because that is your job as a position 5, but also so that you can accumulate some brownie points, which you will inevitably burn 24 minutes later by making a minor mistake. Now most position 5s look forward to the end of the laning phase, when they're no longer shackled to their position 1 and can roam around the map doing whatever they want. But you are an Abaddon picker, and there is nothing that you want to do. Around the 10-minute mark, you can begin initiating the Doom Walk cycle, where you attempt to keep all of your core safe no matter what mildly dangerous bullshit they get up to. And the easiest way to do this is by tracking the enemy team. Identify a couple of key threats and try to put wards down in a way that you're able to roughly monitor which half of the map they're on. Then, attempt to mirror them, always keeping your TP available in case they themselves have used one. You can use a Photic Shield and Mist Coil pretty much randomly in order to make your team a little bit happy, because somehow spending the mid-game shoving vitamins down your teammates' throats is the most productive thing you can do on this hero. Now as for your item build, there's a little bit of a debate on whether to go Arcane Boots or Tranquils, because Mist Coil does cost HP in order to use. However, health isn't really a major concern past the laning phase, and Tranks don't build into Greaves. Pick up Mana Boots, go for a Holy Locket in order to boost the heal off of your Mist Coil, and then, slowly and methodically, build up Guardian Greaves. These two items, when combined with your skills, are enough to take a hero on death's door and put them right back into fighting shape, but they're not your only option. Depending on which heroes are on the enemy team, you can go for a Lotus Orb or a Glimmer Cape, or if you want to have an ounce of offensive potential, you can go for a Solar Crest. The only major diversion that you really need to think about is Aghanim Scepter if you're up against some kind of wombo combo team and you don't have another natural answer for it. If that's the case, you can throw in a Photic Shield on the leading member of a creep wave as it's about to meet an enemy troop, and then immediately reapply it in order for them to both explode and hopefully get a couple of last hits. Eventually, you will get an Aghanim Scepter, but remember that the dictionary definition of eventually is in the end. Ultimately, it's very difficult to explain the utter apathy that will wash over you whenever you're playing as a position 5 ABBA. So, in order to help convey it, I wrote a song. I'm not trying to ruin your lane, just saw they snap pick the bane, my pick looked good for the game. Now we're both stuck as melee heroes, I know you're bored. I meant to counter pick the Veno, but then he maxed wards. If you see me in the safe lane, I might say hi, but if you catch me under tower, I'm a tanky guy. Maybe I'll stack Holy Locket after Solar Crest, while the offlane pings out Grease right after I bought Mech. Yeah, I just picked a pause 5 with no CC. It's like the team chat's always open, pings are raining on me. And if I ever miss a coil, they'll make sure I know. Say I didn't use my shield, it's on cooldown though. Next fight I TP'd a lane, carry died, it's my fault, my game's the worst one to see. I'll beat this way till 18, ask what the hell I can do. But I just take the tier 2, I'll get my Aghanim soon. Next time I'll go Red Harpoon, just popped a smoke near the racks. My carry went for the stacks, I wonder what's it all for. Is it my feeder pause 4, and you know I can't afford to buy out the sentry wards, and so I keep to myself to keep my high conduct score. I wrote a little bit about categorizing Abaddon as a core hero. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you're tired of losing to this hero, or you think that the people who pick him should somehow have even less fun than they're already not having, here is how to beat Abaddon. First and most obvious is to have something that can mitigate the impact of his healing. Heroes like Ancient Apparition and Doom can shut it down entirely, but your best bet most of the time is to buy an item for it. Spirit Vessel is much more accessible, but the cores on your team can consider going for an Eye of Skadi. Just remember to apply the anti-heal to Abaddon's teammates, not himself, and that Shiva's Guard doesn't do that anymore. The second option is to prevent your team from casting all of their spells on an Abaddon in Ultimate by having some way to stall it out. Oven Mitt Dishwasher can send him to gay baby jail for the majority of its duration, as can Shadow Demon with Disruption, but Yule Scepter is actually the best option. Not only can it be purchased by a bunch of different heroes at various points of the game, but it also functions as a dispel, giving you an answer to Aphotic Shield as well as Solar Crest if he decides to go it. And of course, a hero with 0 offensive potential can usually be safely ignored, not just for the duration of a team fight, but for the entire game. Hell, if the Abaddon player took the whole bed rotting motif a little bit too seriously, you can just wait for them to either leave their room to pick up a DoorDash order or for their need to pee to finally overwhelm the comfort of their blanket. In conclusion, Abaddon is a despondent hero, and you should absolutely play him. It's quite easy to tell the difference between a man who does 10 push-ups every morning and a man who does not. Peace on planet Earth.